Alrighty, YouTube. So what is up? This is the first podcast on the new channel I'm hosting with my friend. He'll be co-hosting. You're watching, or actually, technically you're listening to the Reefer Report. So again, welcome to this channel. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, about the idea behind this channel, and why we are here. So I have been pretty much an active viewer, listener, pretty much everything in the weed tubing community for a while now, and I have kind of just sat on the sidelines and watched a lot of the really awesome, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, their channels really grow, and I've really enjoyed watching, smoke sessions, strain reviews, piece reviews, whatever, and a lot of the branding that the weed tubers have done. And I just think the whole community is really positive, has a lot of great vibes, but I think the idea behind the channel that we've created here is to give you all cannabis commentary with absolutely no video. It's going to be podcasts only, strictly. We're going to try to get them up every week, and we're going to scour the internet for some more obscure cannabis news that interests myself and my friend. And the reason we think our idea is kind of unique here is because we're not your stereotypical stoner. We live in a recreational and medical state, but we've only ever bought weed from our friends, or we've smoked weed with our friends. And I'll let my friend introduce himself in the next video. We're going to be switching off every other video, doing our own, news stories. We originally thought we could do them together, but the editing would just be a little too much on us, because we are recording from two different locations, but we definitely want to do this as like a co-hosted thing. So anyway, back to the topic. We don't smoke every day. We've really never smoked every day, but definitely in the recent months, I've become a more regular user. He's more of just kind of a whenever the chance comes up. But I own pieces, I own grinder, I own just, stuff that would make me appear to be, I guess, a stoner, but I'm not. I smoke when I want, and I don't smoke when I want. I've gone months without smoking, and then I smoke sometimes, a few days in a row. It just really depends, and I've really kind of tried to get into it more because I do enjoy it recreationally. I don't really have any medical purposes per se. I guess there's a lot of things you could, maybe for pain a little bit or whatever, but mostly recreationally. I just like the feeling of marijuana. Tried it a few years ago, and it's been a good time. So we really just were interested by the expansion of this community of weed tubers, and we kind of wanted to throw our hat in the ring per se. But we really aren't at a stage in our life where we can smoke weed openly on the internet with video and whatever. And it's not really something we were hoping to do anyway. I would love to share some funny stone stories with everyone, but on this channel, but that's not really the point. I mean, maybe at some point that could happen, but at this point, no, it's really just going to be obscure news that we find and that we find interesting. Sorry for that. Again, these are going to be kind of unedited. I don't know if I mentioned that, but these are going to be unedited. So we're going to try to keep the audio pretty raw and just kind of talk about what we want to talk about, and not really worry about how polished it sounds. So I apologize if there's some rambling or some editing issues, but definitely leave some comments, some critiques down in the comments section. But again, so we're not stereotypical stoners, but we do want to talk about cannabis, the marijuana community. We think it's interesting, we think it's growing, and we think it's, gonna be one of the emerging industries, the emerging social topics in the next, 5-10 years, the next decade or whatever. So without further ado, I guess I will get into my first story, and my first two actually. And so here it goes. My first story comes out of San Francisco, where so it's a guy named Jim McAlpine, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, is opening up a gym based on the idea that before or after your workouts, you can consume marijuana. So, the reason this kind of popped out to me out of a lot of obscure stories, was definitely the fact that I I'm kind of like not like a fitness guy, but like I go to the gym, I eat pretty healthy. I've tried to kind of cut a lot of really bad stuff, nutritionally wise, out of my life. I've actually gone a whole year without fast food, which was like a big thing for me. Lost some weight. It's kind of weird, but so I just thought this was different because, when you're going to the gym or whatever, you're running on a treadmill, or you're, lifting weights, even just doing like yoga or anything, you're gonna have a lot of soreness after, during, before, before, not really, but maybe if you're stretching or something. Basically, you're just gonna be somewhat uncomfortable, sweaty. It's a little awkward being around a bunch of people, that might be even more fit than you or whatever, or they're just more experienced than you. And especially the first time you go to the gym, going to different sections, it's extremely intimidating, I feel. And so he's kind of offering users a chance, or users of his gym a chance to, like, I guess, cut some of their anxiety, their pain, during their workouts, and kind of just make the gym more fun, which, I mean, I couldn't think of really a better thing to pair with fitness. Marijuana is not only going to get you in a different mind state, depending on what you're smoking or dabbing or eating, but again, it's going to dull some body pain. It's going to give you different sensations, especially when you're working out, with how you feel your limbs or whatever. And it's also kind of, I think, interesting because he's kind of keeping it in a controlled environment. He's letting people do it in the gym. So it's not, like seedy, shady. It's not really weird. It's kind of just like, go to the gym and smoke weed, which is, I mean, pretty cool in my opinion. I don't see why, people have an issue with this, especially if it's promoting someone to go to the gym that normally wouldn't. If it's going to reduce their anxiety or, like, their uncomfortableness in that location, I think it's extremely positive. Some of the other parts of the story were that, like, marijuana and THC, like, increase your heart rate, so it might be dangerous for the gym. I think it could get dangerous if you overconsume. I hope a place like this is going to, like, regulate how much people are actually using, or, like, I don't know if they're going to be selling things to the actual, gym customers, if they're going to be selling them, like, edibles or, like, pre-rolls, but I would hope that they, do monitor people during workouts, before their workouts, during the smoke session, because it definitely could get dangerous, if you were in a really weird state of mind. Again, marijuana has to be used responsibly, just like any other mind-altering substance. I guess the first one that comes to mind is alcohol, but especially, when you're combining fitness, working out, heart rate, it can get dangerous if you were just not in the state of mind to be on a treadmill, for example, or lifting weights. So I hope they do regulate that to a point. But again, I think it's a really great idea. It's going to promote people to go to the gym, to get, some fitness in their life, to maybe lose some weight, whatever. And I just think it's a positive idea, and it's kind of a step in the right direction. It's kind of a cool idea. I mean, it's just kind of going along the lines of, like, cannabis tourism. It's just, it's part of a new age in society where something like this is going to be more accepted, and I think it's a positive thing. I think I'm rambling a little bit here. Again, this is the first, podcast, so please bear with me if there are some rambly points, or if there's some stuff that's a little awkward. But anyway, our second story is from the NFL Players Association, possibly looking into the benefits of marijuana over opiate use. I'm assuming in terms of players that have injuries or just general pain. And I think this is really interesting. I think this is interesting because, it's a major organization. The NFL is a $1 billion industry, and they have a lot of power, a lot of media control. So for them to start considering something such as, like, medical marijuana for the players instead of prescribing opiates, which have, that high risk for abuse and use, and, you're putting some of the top athletes, you're pairing them with such powerful, strong drugs that are gonna not only affect, their bodies, but affect their, their play in game. And, I think it's dangerous to give some of these world-class athletes such powerful, painkillers or whatever it might be to get them back on the field. And there is a ban currently on marijuana in the NFL. So, but again, a lot of the players already smoke it. So, and they get around the drug test. So, why not look into this as possibly a way to prevent abuse for opiates and prevent abuse for, these powerful drugs, and so that the players won't be hooked to them, so they won't be, promoting that kind of the use of those pharmaceuticals. And, I've seen a lot in my area opiate abuse, a lot of abuse of, especially of heroin, because it's just so cheap where I live. I've heard reports of like it being $4 a bag, or like, I don't know if that means like a hit or something. I really don't know that much about heroin, I'll be completely honest. But if it's that cheap, that's just scary because of how powerful and how deadly it is. And, I've known people that have died of overdoses that were, not, they weren't, I don't know, it's just crazy. I think that the fact that such a hard drug could possibly be cheaper than like marijuana, which, you're pulling right out of the ground and you're drying it and you're smoking it, just like tobacco. That's just crazy to me. So, I hope that the NFL Players Association is going to promote, the medical marijuana for, pain killing and other, positive effects in the coming months or years or whatever. I don't think it would be a negative thing at all. And I think it's good to have an open discussion about something like this on a stage like, the NFL, and maybe some of the owners are going to be coming more open to it if they can see that their players aren't going to be addicted to such powerful drugs in the future. And, that's just benefiting players, and benefiting the owners in general, because, a lot of people put the stigma, well, how are athletes going to, smoke marijuana? Well, they don't have to. They could take edibles. They could ingest, THC pills or something of that, or drink it. I don't really know. They could do a lot of things that wouldn't involve them smoking it, vaporizing. Another really healthy alternative to smoking the plant material. So I think in the future, let's try it. A lot of people that aren't NFL players are already trying it, and they're already saying, oh, well, I don't have to take this pill or that pill. I can, smoke marijuana responsibly, and that can satisfy the need I have for those other drugs. So, putting it in the hands of the NFL and the players and the coaches and the owners of these teams, I think, and I hope that they're going to say yes to it, and they're going to, promote the responsible use of it, the responsible use by players, and, stop having this whole, like, veil over marijuana, because we know a lot of the world's greatest athletes try it. They use it for a lot of different things, maybe even just to have fun. I don't know. I'd rather see them, smoke a little weed than drink alcohol and promote alcohol, because that's not showing a very good aspect of, some of the world's most respected and honored athletes. So that's basically all I have. We will try to be doing about 2 stories per video. So those were my 2. And the next, you will meet my co-host. He'll give a little intro about himself and, what interests him. He's going to be giving you a few new interesting stories and commentary. And please leave comments below about what you would like to hear about, any critiques for this first video. And thank you for listening to the Reefer Report.